Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome to the Hangin with Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter. Thanks for logging on and tuning in. If you haven't already, go on down and hit subscribe for us real quick so you can come back over and over and over again and see these great creators that we're bringing to you. We are at the 35th Annual Necronomicon in Tampa, Florida, and I am here hanging with C.W. Smith III.
Yes.
C.W. Smith III, the author of GLYPHS RPG, of the GLYPHS RPG Blueprint.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start there. What is it? Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing.
Basically, I've spent the last 7 arduous years trying to create the ultimate role-playing system. Something very universal, very flexible, that doesn't have any particular form, more like a Legos set, if you will, of mechanics and rules that game masters can create their own game from scratch, literally.
Wow.
But more importantly, aside from the universal component, is the item that we use to play.
Okay.
Part of the journey that I've been taking with this is to try to deviate as much as possible from the norm in which role-playing games are played and get away from dice, which, by the way, I sell dice, but these are nice and all, they're number generators. The GLYPHS token gives you random context.
Okay, so I take it from the little wheel here, this is sort of a spin.
No, that's actually a good question. I get that quite a bit. The hole in the middle are called the sites.
Okay.
So basically, the token is used in 2 different ways. A game master would need to read the book and understand the rules and mechanics and understand what the symbols mean because they're context sensitive. So, in other words, if I'm describing a scenario and I want to randomize some content, instead of going back to rules and charts and all that, I do it right here in real time like an oracle. The symbols mean something based on the context.
Okay.
The sites, though, are used for focused actions. So in other words, if I'm doing a headshot or a focused action or casting a spell or anything related to combat or something more sensitive, the token is actually slid or tossed into a shape on an action grid that regulates the success or failure of an action.
Okay.
So the whole is to help pinpoint your location, and some people can even mark it with a pencil if they choose. And this replaces random dice that just give you numbers, right? So instead of resorting to all the charts to see, did my character hit, did this succeed or not, we already know it's right there.
Okay.
And I found this to be a very big game changer.
Okay, fantastic. So how are gamers responding to this kind of interplay?
You know, that's a very good question. I get quite a bit. I'm going to be honest with you. In practice, it's extremely simple and extremely fun to play. We're having a lot of fun with it. I've been running games for over a year now personally. I got a lot of people across the country running their own games, and they're taking GLYPHS and they do their own thing with it, which is exactly what it's meant to be. So I got some people LARPing with it. I have folks that are creating short stories. I have people creating worlds and characters from scratch, but I'm going to be honest with you. Some people are having a hard time learning it because people are lazy, number one.
What do you think the most complex part of learning a new system like this is?
Good question. The system itself is actually very simple. I found that people are just lazy and don't want to read.
Well, we know what we know, right? And,
yes. So when they see a lot of symbols or new content, they tend to back away. But what I tell folks on my website and in person is that don't let the appearance fool you. Read the book, take what you need from it, and then create your own thing from scratch. So basically, it's meant to be tailored around you, the game master and the player. So that's probably the bigger challenge that I've had. But once I can get past that with folks, it's cakewalk. This is one of the easiest systems that you'll use.
Now, what inspired you to create a new system for gaming?
Thank you for asking. That's a good question. Well, I've been involved in role-playing since the early 90s.
Okay.
And I cut my teeth on Dungeons & Dragons, first edition. I've gone through all the D&D systems, Vampire the Masquerade, Palladium Rifts. So I really, really owe a lot to role-playing in those days. But there came a point to where I wanted to create my own thing from scratch. And at first, GLYPHS started nothing more as just a universal system. But then I thought, wait a minute, no, it's just another GURPS clone. I don't want that. I want something better. So I experimented with different resolution systems. I ended up straying away from dice entirely during the process. And I just wanted to create something new for game masters that's extremely flexible and fun, but also for players. I want to focus more on the player experience. And I've completely changed that entirely using the token and grid token system that I use with the game.
Okay. So we're here at Necronomicon.
Yes.
Tons of gaming going on upstairs. As you walk around and see the different games that are being played and what the gamers are doing out there, what are you seeing that there's a good fit for your system in a lot of that gameplay?
Good question. Well, last year I was here and I ran a game, and I modded Dead Space. Now you can mod anything you want to in my system, because depending on what your inspiration is and whatnot. We had a great success last year for the whole weekend. It went awesome. This year we have a lot less people to draw from. Yeah. I was in the gaming room last night. It was a lot less turnout. I see a lot of board games going on. Tonight I got another game I'm running, and it's going to go very well tonight.
What are you running tonight?
Tonight I'm running GLYPHS, and I'm doing a scenario that mimics fantasy, little H.P. Lovecraft, and Vincent van Gogh inspired with little steampunk.
Okay, wow.
And
quite the mashup you got going there.
Well, that's the beauty of GLYPHS.
That's what the GLYPHS program is about.
It's formless.
So you can create anything.
Yes, sir.
Within this universe. Okay.
Yes.
So we want to get into your head a little bit. You've been playing D&D a long time, playing creative games, playing role-playing games, creating your own system.
Yes.
Okay. So if you could have a magic power, what would it be?
Magic power?
Yeah.
I would say, for the sake of promoting GLYPHS and getting it, I would say have everybody's attention long enough for them to absorb what I'm telling them and read the book. Long enough.
Kind of a mesmer thing happened. Look at me. And look at this.
Well, most people are in half trance anyways. They're reading their smartphone. They halfway pay attention to anything, and that applies to people now, especially in gaming. They want it real quick and now. If I could get their people's attention long enough to learn something new, then that would be a beautiful thing, because I think we could change gaming, role-playing specifically as it is.
Outside of what you're creating yourself,
yes.
What is your favorite RPG?
My favorite RPG? Yep. Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yes.
Okay.
There is no greater.
It's the mother of all.
Yes.
In modern gaming, and we had the good fortune last year to sit down with Troy Denning and talk to him about the birthing of Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow.
And it was amazing. It's a great guy to start with, but amazing to see how far gaming has come since those days. We went from being counterculture to pop culture.
Yes.
In this community, so it's amazing. So a little bit about you personally, so people who are looking into the system get to know the guy that created it, okay? So we want to get to know you just a little bit. So we want to know some of your favorite likes and dislikes. Favorite cartoon character?
Favorite cartoon character? He-Man.
He-Man?
From the 80s.
Outstanding.
I'm an 80s, 90s kid. So.
Tom
80s,
Solo,
90s is where
listen
it's
up.
at.
Tom Solo, listen up. He-Man, right here. We got to take her. One of our artist friends did a beautiful, I say beautiful, don't judge, okay, people, a pin-up. He did a pin-up version of He-Man in the famous Burt Reynolds Playboy pose. And it was He-Man, the cartoon character, so it was amazing.
That's funny.
Okay, so if you could write yourself a cameo into any fictional universe as we're walking around here at the convention, where would you go?
I would say Dead Space.
Okay.
That's a great lore. It's survival horror, but it's sci-fi twist.
Yeah. Or
Stargate. I'm a huge fan of Stargate.
Awesome. All right, so we already asked you the ultimate superpower. He's going to be mesmer. He's going to make people listen. He's going to get people into GLYPHS, okay? So in you're creating around your system now.
Yes.
And so what's the most interesting character or interplay that you've been able to create on your own now?
You mean as far as creatures and monsters?
Yeah, creatures, monsters, characters. What are the most interesting to you?
Well, off the top of my head, I had a monster that I created from thin air that was an urchin sniper. It was this large sea urchin type creature that had the ability to stalk you because it's got very good hearing, and it could also see you. and it's more like an animal. So it guards its lair very, closely, but it doesn't go after you. But it can shoot its giant needles at you and snipe you out a ways.
Wow.
And I had one guy who's turned out to be a pretty good role player, good in a village type setting. He signs up his character, and 20 minutes later, he gets shot in the eye, and he's like, "That's it, I'm dead." I'm like, "Dude, you just charged an Urchin sniper ready to shoot you. What do you think was going to happen?" Well, so I thought that was pretty funny.
What are you working on right now? I mean, you're telling people about the system,
yes,
the GLYPHS system, and are you working on any games yourself right now? Creating anything new?
Well, right now, an unbelievable amount of energy and time and sanity has gone into creating this. I'm in the process. I still fine-tune a little bit of things as I see them or as people make suggestions, because I do listen to people, and that's the beauty about having it for free, is I can do that at will. But right now, I am working on video tutorials because some people have asked me to help them, and that's my way of helping.
That's a great idea. That really is.
I'm about halfway done with them, so as time allows, I hope to get them by the end of the year. Now, after that, I'm moving on to other projects. I want to do world settings for GLYPHS. In other words, very specific settings, because people like that too.
Yes.
And then I want to move on to fiction writing. I want to do work on novels and things. For GLYPHS, I have a couple scenarios, and I'll go ahead and share them with the public. I haven't shared them with anybody, but I'll go ahead and say it now. I want to do something with serial killers.
Okay.
I want to do something, well, and there's a reason for that. People can either play the murdering psychopath serial killer based on different movies that they like, or they can play a vulnerable, regular person and try to survive the encounter.
Oh, wow.
And in GLYPHS, one of the class archetypes that I use is a common person. So I want to recreate every scenario possible. The other thing I want to work on is Pioneer-punk, a Pioneer sci-fi mod.
Okay.
So inspired by the Pioneer days, American Pioneer days with a science fiction twist. And of course, I got to do fantasy too. But
of course. Where can we find you coming up the road? Where you're going to be at Claremont ComicCon?
I'll be every year. I live there. That's my hometown.
Awesome.
I will be there the 20th of November this year, and
fantastic.
Going forward, probably be there.
Awesome. Really good. I'm getting a little signal back there. We have to wrap things up here. As we do, we want to say thanks to Something Unique Magazine, the Florida Book News, Wordfire Press, the Space Coast Comics and Famous Faces and Funnies, as well as our friends at the Historical Miniature Gaming Society South for sharing these videos all over the World Wide Web and sharing with their memberships so we can get the word out about these fantastic creators. I'm GW Pomichter. We've been hanging with C.W. Smith III, the author and game creator behind the GLYPHS RPG Blueprint system. Check it out online. We're going to put links down in the description so you can find C.W. Smith online. Remember, if you haven't already, go on and hit subscribe for us, log on, tune in, and see who we're hanging with next.